this video is about the dominant 7th chord. That's a dominant 7th, specifically the chord of C7. It's a 4-note chord, and it's really important in harmony. It's written like this, so you spot a dominant 7th just by the single figure 7 after the chord name, C7, A flat 7, F7, whatever. If you have looked at chord sequences maybe on the web or in books, you'll often see dominant 7th chords. If you've had guitar lessons or taught yourself the guitar in the past, then dominant 7ths are among the most common chords you'll have come across. People don't usually say C dominant 7th, A flat dominant 7th. They just say, as the chord is written out, C7, A flat 7, F7, E flat 7, and so on. Just to say quickly, if you're watching this video as a result of reading my book, which you can see here, How to Really Play the Piano, then the material we're going to cover in this video is on pages 21 and 22 of the book, and again on pages 32 to 34. Don't have to be reading the book to benefit from the video, but if you are, those are the pages you need. If you're a little bit unsure about harmony, then you might like to look at my videos on really basic harmony. There are 3 of them, and they will take you through all the very basic information you need to know about chords, and you can find the first one at this web address. Okay, brilliant. Let's look at dominant 7th chords. Okay, for starters, how do we go about forming a dominant 7th chord? Let's think about how we're going to make a chord of C7. First of all, we start off with a straightforward chord of C. What we do is add a minor 7th from the scale of C. Okay, that might sound terribly complicated, but the easy way to remember it is to take your basic root position triad and add the note that is 1, 2, 3 notes above the 5th. It's also the same as the note that's a whole tone below the tonic. So that's C. If you want to find the minor 7th, which you need to form the dominant 7th chord, take the C and come down a whole tone, that is 2 semitones. So there's our C triad, and by adding that B flat we form the dominant 7th chord. Okay, let's try in another key. Let's try it with chord of F major. We find the dominant 7th by identifying the 5th note of the chord, triad in its root position, and go up 1, 2, 3. There we go, E flat. You'll see it's the same note as is below the tonic by 2 semitones, by a whole tone. Okay, so there it is. Okay, one more, E flat, and we go up 1, 2, 3. You can see the dominant 7th is formed by adding D flat. Okay, just listen to the sound of the dominant 7th. Here it is in C major again. It's chord of C major. That's the dominant 7th. It has a very, very distinctive sound. So you know if you're getting it wrong or not quite right because you won't hear that. Okay, let that soak under your skin a bit. Okay, like any chord, it can be played in lots and lots of different voicings. Those are all C7, but more particularly in its most basic form it has a root position and 3 inversions because it's a 4-note chord. So that's our C7 in root position, 1st inversion, 2nd inversion, and 3rd inversion. Okay, here that is written out if you're a music reader. So C7 in root position, 1st inversion, 2nd inversion, 3rd inversion. Okay, don't confuse the dominant 7th, C7, which is written like this, with C major 7, which is written like this and sounds like this. You notice it has the B natural rather than the B flat, and certainly don't confuse it with C minor 7, which is written like this. Played like that. As you'll see, that's the same chord, but it's a minor 3rd in the middle there. So instead of being based on a major triad, it's based on a minor triad. We'll look at major 7ths and minor 7ths in a different video. C7, which is the important one, looks like that. Okay, now the reason that dominant seventh chords are really important, well, there's two reasons. The first and sort of less important one is if you're playing blues and rock and roll, it's really important for creating the sort of bluesy sound. That's C7. It's F7. Back to C7. G7, now listen to that because we'll come back to that. F7. C7 again. Okay, so if you're a blues man, if you're a rock and roll player, that dominant seventh chord is a really key part of your armoury for creating a bluesy sound. We're in the key of C. Let's go back to that G7 chord. Okay. Now, if you listen to that carefully, you'll hear that really, that's a really strong resolve, we might say, back onto the C. That chord, G7, really wants to land on C. Okay? In a later video, we're going to look at the idea of chord resolution, what makes one chord want, for want of a better word, to land onto another. And the dominant seventh chord is really important for creating resolutions. Basically, if you're in a particular key, say you're in the key of C, then the dominant seventh chord that is based on the fifth note of the scale, in this case G, will really want to resolve back onto the root. Okay, let's say we are in the key of G. Okay, the dominant seventh of the fifth note, based on the fifth note of the scale, is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, is D7. Really wants to resolve onto G. Okay, one more example. Let's say we're in the key of A flat. Okay. E flat is the fifth note in the scale, so if we build a dominant seventh chord on that note, we get E flat 7, which really wants to resolve onto A flat. Okay. The other chords in the key you can still make the other major chords in the key sevenths, but you tend to get a bluesy sound. Okay, so if we just make A flat 7 when we're in the key of A flat, get a bluesy sound. Same with D. In the key of A flat, we get a bluesy sound. But as soon as we go up to the dominant seventh chord based on the fifth note of the scale, there we go. It really, it's not bluesy at all. It really wants to resolve onto the tonic, which is A flat. Okay, so that's for dominant seventh. As I've said, that it's a really important chord for understanding harmony and resolution, and we'll look at it some more in my next two videos, which are both on chord resolution. Okay, you can find the next one in this series at this web address. And if you are reading from my book, How to Really Play the Piano, we're looking at the material that starts to be covered in the middle of part 1. Okay, any questions or comments, put them in the question thread on the Jamcast post where this is appearing. Here is the address if you're not looking at this on Jamcast, or alternatively you can put them in the comments on the original video on YouTube.